We're back with the League of the Genuine Conversations. This is a program that is dedicated to discussing and deepening our understanding and knowledge about the important but often ignored subject of counterfeits. We appreciate your company. We appreciate you making a date with us. Every Friday evening, we have a special guest to discuss this subject. We are joined by an economist, a gentleman, a young man, Mr. Pasco Muhangi, who will, is it Muhangi, Muhanji?
Muhanji.
Muhanji.
Yes.
Muhangi. What's the difference?
Pronunciation.
Pronunciation.
Yes.
But it all ends with GI.
Yes.
Muhanji. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Pasco Muhanji. I called you an economist. Is
Yes.
that an appropriate description?
I hope it's not counterfeit, but some people call me an economist, some people call me other things like teacher, others call me a lecturer, but I'm not a lecturer.
Musomesa.
Yes, Musomesa. I call myself a teacher.
You call yourself a teacher?
Yeah, and an economist sometimes.
You were teaching us recently. You wrote an article in the, I think I read it in the Monitor.
Yes.
That's why I asked you to come and explain. You were talking about how public debt is going to constrict the standards of living of the citizens. And in your article, I didn't see anything you mentioned about counterfeits, but I thought if I bring you on the spot here, you might be able to give us a correlation between public debt and counterfeits. Do you see counterfeits as a causative factor of public debt in your studies?
I would not say there could be a correlation, but correlation is not causation. Counterfeits may be related to debt because it's about funding, and when you have a big chunk of your budget going to debt servicing, about 30%, then you're going to be left with little money that can finance activities that can stop counterfeiting. For example, if you have less money left as discretionary expenditure, which is money available for government to spend, then you're going to allocate little money to agencies like UNBS that is actually in charge of fighting these counterfeits. So there could be a correlation.
At the macro level?
Yes.
And also there's personal debt, if we have debt at the micro level as citizens. But do you see a country getting into debt because it has acquired, let's say, a loan for public infrastructure development, and that loan is for putting up a bridge, for example, or a road, and that loan has a period for debt repayment, interest repayment, and so on. So if the loan is obtained to build the bridge and the bridge breaks down, the loan still has to be paid.
Yes.
So to the extent that a lot of public infrastructure projects are rife with counterfeits. The bridges break maybe because the materials are
poor,
substandard or poor quality and so on. Speak as an economist and lecturer at MUBS. Tell us, can you investigate a link between this public debt and counterfeits in that regard?
Yes. Those are, some projects are not performing. You have a project, it is being repeated. You're constructing a dam, but midway it has cracks. Now you have to come back and do what you're supposed to do. As you repeat projects, you extend a period, the cost is going.
You increase the debt.
Yes. The cost of the project goes high. Sometimes you stop, and once you stop, once you're using debt money and you stop, you start paying commitment fees. You contract a debt, you have not picked it because your project has stalled. There are some things you have to first settle. Then you start paying commitment fees on that date. That increases the debt of the country. The projects you talked about, you build a bridge, it collapses after 2 years.
The other road, what is it? The road which
Katonga.
broke? Katonga Road.
After 10 years.
I have not seen anybody in the media making an assessment as to the cause. Okay, natural causes are there. You can't take them away.
Yes.
But have we interrogated the integrity of the road, even without the natural causes? Were the materials that were used to the standard? You see what I mean?
Yes.
These questions are not asked.
They are not asked. We have some roads that are new, and 2 years down the road, you see potholes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that comes back to the quality of the materials, the quality of the people that actually did the work. They could be counterfeit. You hire someone, they come and recruit some people that are not qualified to do the work. That is counterfeiting, because if I give you a job, you're supposed to build a road that's going to last for 15 years. 2 years down the road, it has cracks, it has potholes. Then it is going to increase the cost.
It's only in Uganda, in Africa, where a road will last 1 year and it gets potholes.
Yes.
I've traveled in many parts of the world. They will tell you that this road in the UK was made in 1970 something, and it has never developed a pothole.
Yes. So there could be a link between that. If the materials that were used are poor quality, if the contractor himself is not of the quality that should be given such a project, and it comes back to several things that they are drivers of counterfeits. It could be issues of corruption. You have a contractor that should have not qualified for a certain job, but then they have it because of corruption. They come with counterfeit inputs. The road breaks down after 2 years, and now that is going to increase the cost of the road. It is going to put pressure on the government to spend. The government doesn't have money. What they do, they can go and get loans. And these days it has become very bad. We get non-concessional loans.
What does that mean?
Those are loans that have very high interest rates with a very small
Limited period.
of payment. A government shouldn't get a loan of 16%.
So it's for money lenders out there.
Money lenders. Now, if you go and borrow at 16% as government, that is unheard of.
And they give a sovereign guarantee. How are those loans secured? What do they mortgage there?
The mortgage could be, you had this loan they wanted to get from the Kenyan money lender, they wanted to mortgage some of the product, some of the infrastructure, some of the national entities. But most of those loans, you don't have to put mortgage. You just go get a contractor loan. You just write paper. The mortgage is the contract, because the person knows the government cannot default. They give you a loan at 16%, you start paying. Give you a grace period. If you're lucky of 1 year, after 1 year you start paying, you have a period of 5 years.
But some of those contracts are build and operate, and maybe even own, BOO. So you have somebody puts in the money, they build the road, they operate it and even own it, and they collect road toll for some years.
Now, that is, we have concessional loans and non-concessional loans. Now, some of the concessional loans should be used for such self-financing infrastructure or projects where I'm going to put up this project and it's going to generate money that's going to pay back that loan. A good example is Entebbe Express Highway. Ideally, it should have collected money that was going to buy back the loan that was gotten from China. But the last time I heard, it was not collecting enough money.
The road people can't afford to
Yes.
use it.
Yes.
I have just been to Nairobi. It's the same thing with
Yes.
their Nairobi Express. It is built just like ours,
Yes.
to raise money to pay back the debt, but there's little traffic.
Yes.
People avoid it. They still squeeze the 1 inch squeeze
Yes.
on the old road, and they cannot afford to pay the 5,000
Yes.
every time you pass the gate.
So that is the ideal situation.
So, and those white, is that a white elephant project? I've never seen a white elephant, but I've heard
It
of
goes
white.
back to the kind of analysis that was done before the contract was made, the loan was secured, the road was put up, was there an assessment?
Of course, there was an assessment.
Then if it was a good assessment, it should have worked. If it's not working, that shows that the assessment was not good.
But back to public debt.
Yes.
Are we right to just blame government for contracting more and more public debt without helping government to point out that you cannot fight public debt for as long as you are not fighting counterfeits in the economy? Because counterfeits will reduce public revenue.
Yes.
Counterfeiters will destroy legitimate businesses and industries. Counterfeits will destroy agricultural produce.
Yes.
Right now we have a scandal of our maize again and crops being rejected by South Sudan. They were rejected by Kenya. And that is if you are trying to work on increasing household income. Ugandan farmers export grain to Sudan and it's rejected. You can't fight poverty. So don't you agree now that as an economist that you cannot fight public debt, even private debt, without fighting counterfeits?
Yes, I agree. Because counterfeits have an impact on the economy. The revenue generated, if it crumbles, if it makes business hard, because what counterfeits do, they come, if you have been producing water, they come and produce water that looks like yours at a cheaper cost. They are not, in most cases, they are not paying taxes. Now, they force you either to reduce production or sometimes close. But this person closing is the person that has been paying taxes to the RA. This person counterfeiting is not paying taxes. They are operating underground. Now, the government, the business is closed. The government loses revenue because they have closed. People in the villages, the agriculture, I told you I come from where people predominantly depend on agriculture. They can't produce. Someone goes and buys herbicides, they spray, everything dries up. Now, if they cannot produce, then they're going to depend on the government. That's why you see government is coming out to help people, because there is a program, a very good program called PDM.
What is PDM? Parish Development Model.
Government has given 1.05 trillion in this coming budget to PDM. But before you address counterfeits in agriculture, because PDM is basically in agriculture, before you address those counterfeit inputs in agriculture and you go and pump 1 trillion into agriculture, I think it is kind of writing on water.
Does PDM address the challenges of fake agricultural inputs like seeds, agricultural equipment, agricultural chemicals? Does PDM address the proper use of agricultural methods? Does PDM address post-harvest handling? We lose a lot of crop. The storage is poor. Out of a harvest in 1 acre, from 1 acre, you can only take to the market maybe 60–70%. The rest is lost through poor post-harvest handling materials. Have you economists advised the government on PDM to ensure that it is anchored on a tamper-proof?
Now, the problem with PDM, the government gives people money and they do what they want with it. It's a difference between PDM and NADS, or these other programs. The government was free in charge. This time, that's why they have sent money to the grassroots. They have sent 100 million to the parish, they divide it into circles, and people do. They are in charge of the activities they do. The only way government comes in is on seedlings and a program called Mindset Change. Mindset Change is teaching people the best practice of agriculture, what they should do, what they don't do. But that program also, the budget has been cut from 73 billion last year to 30.06 billion this coming budget. But before you change people's mindset, before you train people to differentiate between a counterfeit input and a genuine input, no, that is where they are cutting the budget.
But don't you think also government needs to change its mindset? because also government
Yes.
in its planning and execution of programs is showing that it might be lacking certain understanding of some of these things concerning with counterfeits. Don't we need to have a mindset change, a behavior change from the top before we ask the people down to change?
Yes. Like on counterfeits, if you do a root cause analysis of why they are counterfeits, so many in Uganda, and the industry is growing every day.
Does it come from the top
It comes
or
from
from
the
the top bottom with the
Right
consumers?
from the top. Why? The issue of counterfeits is not on the political agenda.
There is no political will to fight counterfeits.
But if there was political will, within 2-3 days, they would fight it and it will end. If you're still taxing counterfeits, there's no political will.
Is it because politicians are beneficiaries or they are perpetrators or they are what? What are you saying?
Some of them could be beneficiaries, or there could be some of them are the ones manufacturing these things.
Mr. Mohanji,
Yes.
let's take a break. We are back with the second segment, the League of the Genuine Conversations, the only show on the planet where we discuss the issue of counterfeits. Do you know any other show that discusses counterfeits anywhere?
No.
So you agree with my statement. But do you agree with this statement? As somebody who is also involved in monitoring economic data, analyzing economic data, because I know you're associated with civil society
Yes.
for budget advocacy.
Yes.
Don't you experts take a blame also, or some responsibility, that as you are monitoring our budget and advising, and we are now in the budgeting cycle, you're about to issue a big statement,
Yes.
but you economic monitors or analysts, you don't give any report or analysis on counterfeits, and yet you shop in the same market where I shop. If the tomatoes have mango zeb and the chemicals, you also eat them. If I go to a clinic and get fake anti-malarials, even you get the same. If you are driving on a road with potholes, even you. So you economic analysts have let us down. You are not adding your voice to this problem, menace of counterfeits. You're just monitoring other things. I don't know, what are you monitoring?
We have to agree that the issue of counterfeits has not received the attention it deserves from across the board, from technocrats, politicians, everyone. It has not.
And economic analysts,
and economic,
like you, and teachers.
and teachers.
Uh-huh.
It has not received the attention.
Why?
The reason why it has not received this attention, the agents in charge, or the people that are in charge, are not drumming enough. You see, for us technocrats, we tend to address things that affect the common person. Now, if there is no one talking about these things.
But do you need anybody to remind you to talk about counterfeits? For example, in agriculture, you come from Buweju.
Yes.
You guys are farmers. The people in Buweju are suffering. They go and buy a pesticide. They spray, the pests don't die. They buy seedlings, things don't grow.
Yes.
Some of them are milk farmers. They buy the milk, they take it to the milk plant, the big factory. The factory rejects it. Why? Because the milk has antibiotic residues. Because the cow ate. So you don't need anybody to come with a drum to your office to drum for you as an analyst to complain about this thing which is affecting the grassroots, which is affecting you.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
don't you think you're deflating the blame? Me, I want it to stay with you because you are the people with the knowledge.
Yes.
You are our eyes.
Actually, we've done some research on that topic. If I lean back to moves, my own head of department, Dr. Renta Tukunda, I know you're straight with her very well. She has done research about counterfeits. And in the research, it was discovered that 54% of Ugandans in agriculture have encountered counterfeits. 24% have used fake herbicides. Now, last year, in November last year, I was in West Nile, the entire West Nile, Namuru, Ajimani, that entire area. We are conducting a study about horticulture.
That is the growing of flowers. Is it flowers?
No.
Vegetables?
Vegetables and fruits.
Okay.
I met a farmer in Amuru. He had a very big garden of marakwanga. I don't know what marakwanga is in the other language. He told me he bought inputs 800,000 the previous season, sprayed the garden, and everything dried, clean. Now you can imagine the cost it put on him. Now the cost is not the 800,000. The cost goes much higher than 800,000. It goes to the family. The kid that could not go back to school because the garden that was producing school fees dried up.
And maybe he had even gotten a loan from
and maybe
a
he had gotten a loan from a circle.
And even after spraying
yes,
the hazardous chemical in the
yes.
soil, the soil fertility, and maybe even the chemical, when
yes.
it rains,
yes.
it drains into water sources. So there is also an environmental
actually
impact.
Next to his garden, because that crop I think is planted in wetlands, there was a river just on the...
So how many fish
yes.
consumed that dangerous chemical? And how many people got waterborne diseases?
Yes.
Because the chemical, when it rained, it went into the river. You see, so waterborne diseases come out there. And even the soil, in order to recover,
yes.
you might find that soil, you needed to, what do they call it in agriculture? When you leave it to grow a bush before you
leave it for some time to recover.
So you might find that this asset as land will not be usable
yes.
for some time because of the chemical which was sprayed. And this is what I'm trying to say. The monitoring, you don't need a drum from me, from anyone, because this is something that affects us. And that leads me to the next question.
Yes.
Don't you think that, like here in Uganda, the mentality of government to Yambe, government help me, that mentality that things have got to be done for you by the government is affecting us? Don't you think it is in the fight against counterfeits? Don't you think it is time we followed what President Kennedy said? Ask not what your country has done for you, but rather what you have done for your country. Don't those words of Kennedy ring a bell in this fight against counterfeits?
Yes, but it also comes back, why do you think people are saying government to Yambe all the time? They have been programmed saying that it's just government, only government that can come and rescue them. It comes back to mindset change. If you don't invest in human capital development, train these people, tell them it is your life. You have to go and know that there are counterfeits. You know, people not buy counterfeits and they think it's normal. They know shops that are selling counterfeits, but they'll go and buy. Mindset change.
Or when they buy, they do not even know that they have a right as a consumer
yes.
to consume a quality product. But then they get discouraged by things like goods once sold are not returnable. I'm sure it's you economists who brought that phrase. I don't think lawyers would draft such a thing. Goods once sold are not returnable. To what extent is that contributing to the counterfeit culture?
It contributes highly to the country because it puts into the consumer that have bought this. Like that farmer I told you about, I asked him, did he report police? He said no. Did he go back to the shop? He said no. Why? Because I had already paid, there's no way I was going to recover the money. They don't know. And it comes back also to the lawyers. There are so many laws in the country that are regulating this industry of counterfeits. But the language of law, counsel, cannot be understood by someone in Buweju. Now it comes back to the lawyers. Break down these laws into small pieces that can be understood by the common person. They understand. That's why someone would say, goods once sold are not returnable, and they believe it. Because the lawyer has not explained what it means, what's the implication. They have not broken down these big laws that even me I cannot understand. and you expect someone from Amuru, from Buweji, to come and understand that there is a
And
law.
what is funny, and I will take the blame there
Yes.
on behalf of the legal fraternity,
Yes.
because even the constitution, the supreme law of the land, is a requirement that it must be translated into local language.
Yes.
But we have a constitution which has remained in English for
Not just English.
for the last 30 years.
English that cannot be easily understood by
English
anyone.
that cannot be easily understood. And then we have a situation where even the lawyers are buying counterfeits. Because you may think that we lawyers, we go to another market, or we can differentiate between genuine and fake, or we know the dangers of counterfeits. We don't know.
They are concerned.
So the blind and the deaf and those who have eyes, we are all in one
Basket.
basket.
But the good thing, the debate is coming up. At least I like that there is an agency like SCN. The debate is coming up. Technocrats are going to come in. Now, the people that make the change, the politicians, if we can bring them on board, then that is the game changer. Because whatever we do here, whatever we discuss, if the politicians are not willing to change, nothing is going to change. If they think they can get taxes from fake products, that should be the first thing. All these fake products pass through the borders. Most of them are imported. You have seen these underwears, Calvin Klein. That product, Calvin Klein, I think has about 1,000 other products that are almost like that in the name of
Derivatives, duplicates.
But you go to any market, you find all of them, they are not manufactured here. Where are they passing? They pass through the borders on those consignments in these lorries.
And the customs is allowing them to
Yes.
come. But you can't blame the customs. The customs has got to raise money to finance government programs. And so they have got to raise money the best way they can. So if you're a counterfeiter and you import and you say this is Calvin Klein, the customs officer may not have the ability to know whether you are dealing with the legitimate. It looks the same. Like, is that an excuse that
No, that
should allow us to collect taxes on counterfeits?
That's why we need to build capacity. And I'll come back, I'll go to UNBS, because UNBS is the agency in the country that is in charge of making sure that the products we consume
are of good standard.
are of good quality. The products we export or even import are of good standards. Now, if you have not built the capacity of UNBS, then you're going to have such scenarios where...
Do you have any information? Isn't UNBS being funded? I see they have a very good, a new building, one of the best in the city. They are conditioned, they have vehicles. So, aren't you misleading?
That is the difference between gross and development. The building you see there, that is gross, but it may not reflect development. You may have a very good hospital, very nice buildings, but it is not development. There are no doctors. There are no services being offered, but you have a building that is gross, but does not translate into development. Now, UNBS has a budget of 54. In the current financial year, it has a budget of 41 billion.
41
billion.
41 billion.
Billion.
That is about 13 million dollars.
Around there. I'll keep it in the Uganda shillings. 41 billion. 88% of that budget is what we call in economics recurrent expenditure. This is money that pays
salaries, fuel, airtime,
yes.
Attending seminars,
and they call it entertainment. I was looking at their budget. They have a huge budget for entertainment. For
how much?
About, I can check. I don't want to give you figures that...
You are saying that 41 billion that UNBS receives from government, 88% of it is spent on consumption.
Consumption.
Not for doing the work.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Actually, if I'm to be very specific, 64% of their budget pays three things: salaries, social contribution, and entertainment. That is 26.3 billion. Out
Goes
of
on
the 41,
entertainment, weddings, funerals,
yes,
birthday
welfare,
parties,
yes,
salaries and
and
allowances.
social contributions, yes, 26 billion. That is out of 41. What is left to do?
So what you are saying,
Yes.
basically, is that even when we collect the scarce resources,
Yes,
we are not utilizing the resources appropriately.
yes,
We are even counterfeiting in the budget allocation and
Yes.
expenditure. This is what you're saying.
this is what I'm saying.
And how much goes to making sure we have safe products on the
Now,
market?
In this coming financial year, out of the 54 billion that has been
41.
allocated, the 41 is for the current financial year, 2022, 2023. But it is this budget that has just been approved in Parliament
Which is
for the next financial year.
Yes, it's 51.
The budget has grown from 41 to 54. But the actual money for doing the work, the development budget, is 6.6 billion. That is for 12 months.
6.6 billion is the money that UNBS will use
Yes.
to go in the market to grab the people who are
good.
selling substandard to
Yes.
ensure that you and your family
Yes,
do not consume substandard.
yes,
Only 6 billion.
yes. Now, what you're talking about the market, they have an item called market surveillance and import consignment inspections. Now, this is what I was talking about, the borders and the markets where these products are sold. They have allocated 2.4 billion for 12 months
For the whole country.
for the whole country. For
A
12
country
months.
with porous borders.
Yes,
So don't you therefore see that the mindset change must start with government agencies?
from the top.
Because an agency whose mindset is that I should spend money on entertainment and salaries
Yes,
and not to do my core mandate
yes.
is why we are having these counterfeits.
This is the root cause of the problem. It comes back from these macroeconomic policies. This is a policy. Why it is a policy? It is the most important policy in the country because it allocates resources, but also signals people where the government priorities are. So, if you don't change
This
the
is-
policies, the
yeah,
macroeconomic,
it is a problem.
it is a huge problem.
Pascal, we need to take a break and return. When we return, I hope we shall have time to talk about education, the expired. You tell us whether you are expired. If the degree can expire,
Yes.
can the lecturer also expire? Let's take a break. We're back with the third and last segment of the League of the Genuine Conversation. If you've just joined us, this is a show dedicated to discussing the issue of counterfeits, which pervade the market in every sphere of our life. To unpack and discuss this subject for the last 30 minutes and the remainder of the 15, Mr. Pascal Mohaji, economist, teacher or lecturer.
Teacher.
But I'll also add another title to you, youth.
Yes.
Every problem that we have with counterfeits cannot be talked about without pointing to the youth. You are the majority, you are the ones who buy most counterfeits, you are the ones who, basically everything is around the youth. What do you say about the youth and the counterfeit problem from where you're standing? Do you think you have a role to play? Do you think you are the problem? Do you think you are the solution?
First, we have a role to play, and we have a solution, but it can't be isolated. You see, the problem with counterfeits, the solution can't be isolated. And you say, it is UNBS, it is ACN, it is the youth. It must be a coordinated effort. If you're to effectively fight counterfeits, it must be everyone involved. The person in the grassroots involved, the president involved, me an economist involved, the royal council involved. It must be a coordinated effort. The youth have a role to play, but they have so many. We come back to the drivers of counterfeits. If you ask where are they there? Why is
Because
it
this
people?
country
Yes.
has had youth.
Yes.
Don't think youth only started in your time. Even during our time, I
Yes.
was a youth.
Yes.
In the 80s, I was a youth in the 90s.
Yes.
But we didn't have as many counterfeits This particular youth of the 2000s is the one during whose time we have seen a lot of counterfeits. So it's very easy to say that maybe there is a problem with this particular youth. And we have found drivers of counterfeiting, and we have said one of them is aspiration. We aspire to look like so and so, to look like this star. You know, we want to
wear Calvin Klein.
Yes, Calvin Klein or Nike. Aspiration. The youth, through aspiration, through wanting to arrive, are pushing us on the brink of bursting with counterfeits, because you are aspiring to be better, to look nice, to do this. Aspiration and the youth.
I agree. The current, our generation is a very ambitious generation, and we want to get things quicker and faster. Now that is the challenge we are having. In that process of wanting to get things quicker and faster, we tend to, you want to jump and get things. Someone sees Rihanna on TV, they are putting on something, they want to put it on. You can't afford it, it's $1,000.
So they give you a fake version.
You get a fake version and you look like Rihanna. You see someone putting on Jordans.
Jordan.
$800, you can't afford it. But if you go somewhere in town,
they give it
something
at $8.
That looks like that at $8. So
in economics, what do you call that? That mindset is called what? That aspiration, because the economics I remember of demand and supply.
Yes.
I don't remember that aspiration was. We were buying. The demand was based on need. Now the demand, you buy something you don't need, but you want to buy. You buy something you want.
Yes.
And in the process of wanting, you forget about what you need and you get what you want, and it's a counterfeit. Yes. So hasn't this distorted the economics of demand and supply the way we understand?
No. As long as someone wants something, it translates into demand. As long as you can pay for it, that $8 you can pay. This is by exploiting the youth, because the youth don't have the money. They can easily settle for what is there. In Uganda has 23 million people that are working. Now, of those 23 million people, 99% earn less than 1 million shillings a month. 99%. Most of those are the youth in informal setting, informal sector. So, someone who is counterfeiting will based on that.
But even the working adults who earn more than $1 million per month, 55%. I was looking at a household survey. 55% of their income is spent on the needs of their children. Meaning that a youth, even if they are not working, they will come to me as a father and demand for a phone.
Yes.
And I will give them money, or I'll procure for them a phone, and it can be a counterfeit. So everything else actually ends up with the youth, because we all work for our families, and therefore expenditure is driven by family.
It's because the youth is the biggest population. They take the biggest population is the youth. So everything must end with them, because the adults are few. So everyone is working for the youth. The youth working for themselves, the adults.
So do you think therefore that programs to change mindset change, programs to help us deny the counterfeiter a market, must specifically target the youth in the schools, in the social events where they are all attracted to those kind of events? This agenda must be there.
Schools. It starts with schools, because that is where the minds are set. Now, if they are not tuned right from secondary universities, it is very hard to get them when they are out and they are already struggling. The mind is distorted.
The mind has already formed.
Yes.
Get them when the mind has a chance to take in new stuff. But what do you say to the fact that you may well talk to the students in school, but even the school administrators, because I can assure you, today, if we did a survey of the portion, the maize meal that is being eaten by our children in the schools, most of that maize meal comes from maize that has aflatoxins, that South Sudan has rejected, that Kenya has rejected. That's the maize the headmasters and whoever buy, and they give your children in Bueju. If you went to check in the Bueju district where you come from, the parts per billion of aflatoxins in the maize is not even fit for animal consumption. So again, if we tackle the youth in Bueju and talk to them about counterfeits, to shun it, but when the school bursar goes to the market to buy maize and beans, buys the fake ones for them,
and finds that portion with a UNBS stamp,
and it has a UNBS stamp,
so
but
can't blame the
they
newspaper.
spend 16%, 26% on checking the maize.
Yes.
So does this to you make this an impossible task?
No,
Fight
no.
counterfeits?
No.
Is it impossible?
It is very possible, but it's bigger than an individual effort. At an individual level, at a school level, at a headmaster's level, at a student's level, at a youth level, you can't fight it. It has to be a coordinated effort. The youth are involved, the schools are involved, the legal fraternity is involved, the government is involved, and then there is the political will.
But why I say that it may be looking like it's an impossible task, because for my whole life, I have never heard of expired degrees. I used to hear of expired food, expired these products, but that there is a service that is expired. It made me think that maybe this problem needs divine intervention. Talk to us about why you people are serving expired degrees to us, and how does this come about? Because that's a counterfeit.
First of all, to clear the air, there are no expired courses. And if you checked the website for National Council for Higher Education, I think they have removed it. They have removed it with something awaiting accreditation, due for accreditation. So I think it was a misuse of the word by someone, and the media picked on it, and they are no expired courses. The courses were just not accredited, and most of them were actually in the process of being accredited. So the students,
but what does accreditation mean? Because a counterfeit is a product which is not accredited. Let me use the word accredited. In other words, it's not validated. Okay?
Yes.
So, if I am to look here at the word accreditation, the action or process of officially recognizing someone or something to have a particular status or being qualified. So a counterfeit is something which is not accredited. So I want to put it to you that even if you say the courses were not expired, but they were not accredited, they are still counterfeit. How do we get into such a situation? Why should a university or an institution of learning allow a student to, 1, apply for a course, 2, pay for it, 3, attend classes, 4, sit exams, 5, award a diploma or certificate, and then only later to come and say, under process of accreditation?
I hear you and I agree. I think there were some mistakes that should be addressed. I think there was
mistakes by who? The parents, the teachers, the students, the school. Do you want also to blame the government on this one? Do we blame God?
No.
Who should we blame?
The mistakes were done by both the schools and the agents in charge of accrediting the courses. Because if you run a website and you know the courses are going to expire next year, why don't you tell the people that, by the way, your courses are about to expire? Or if you're also running courses, why don't you keep checking? I think those are mistakes that were done. I think what we need to do is take lessons from it and maybe hope for a better future.
Take lessons, but can we take lessons without taking action against the problem? Because if something happens and we don't take any punitive action, any remedial action, then there is no lesson we shall learn, because the thing would have happened without a consequence. Don't you think we need to apply the law in these situations, and some people have to pay the price for the negligence? Because we have negligence as one of the drivers of counterfeiting. It's there in Dangani. Negligence.
Yes.
People were negligent, let's face it. These things needed to be accredited. And now we have a situation. What is going to happen to the students who were awarded expired degrees? Are they going to sit again? Pay fees again? To sit exams again?
We don't know if you're a lawyer, maybe you may have a better answer.
Because Mr. Teacher, I think you might know. By the way, did you ever teach any students under these expired programs as a teacher?
First of all, I would not want to use the word expired.
Okay. And unaccredited programs?
Yes, some of my students, I think they had that problem. I think maybe, yes, I was teaching them microeconomics. They had that problem, but it is being rectified. No one should worry.
I hope
yes, yes.
Even you as a teacher, you don't expire in the process.
You see, the knowledge does not expire. I don't even know why.
You see the justification. I was reading on the website of a National Council of something, and they're saying the reason for accrediting over every 5 years or regularly is to update the knowledge and to see that it is relevant to the market and so on. So you can see that it's really to make it valid.
Yes,
so it's not a formality. It serves a practical purpose.
Yes, it is to update courses also, because the environment keeps changing.
Yes.
So you have to update the courses, also make sure they are still relevant to the market, because we may produce graduates that can't get jobs because of the kind of course they or the
yes, because if the course was teaching people about the telephone, the one of dating, and now there is this as the telephone, then the whole thing is expired. Anyway, we have to end here, but I would like to thank you for making the time to be on this program. I'm sure our viewers have benefited a lot. You can say hello and bye to them and give them a message on how to avoid counterfeits.
Thank you, our viewers, and thank you for listening in and watching. What I can say about counterfeits, it comes back to us, the individuals. If you somewhere you go into the market, don't buy counterfeits. If you see counterfeits, report them. You can check ACN, their website. They will tell you the procedures in which you can go through to report counterfeits, also to avoid counterfeits, because counterfeits have concealed dangers that are very dangerous to your life, to the economy. They are both social dangers and economic dangers. Social dangers, they may give you diseases, they may give you several bad things. Economically, they may tarnish your business, they may reduce your economic, they may reduce your incomes. So please, let us avoid counterfeits. It comes back to us. No one is going to come and help us. Let us take charge and solve this issue. I wish you a nice evening.
Take charge was the closing remark from our guest, Mr. Pasco Uhangi, an economist and lecturer at Mackay University Business School. He's also part of civil society that does budget economic monitoring. We hope that you have been able to pick a thing or two about the dangers and the presence of counterfeits on the market. We appreciate you liking, sharing, and subscribing to this channel because your support is very important in ensuring that we continue to bring you more programming to ensure that we give you information that can keep you safe from the harm and dangers of counterfeits. The purpose of this program is to give you information because we believe an informed consumer is an empowered consumer. We would like to sign off. As always, don't be fake, buy and sell genuine.